They're still doing the same things. Let's take a look how the picks and bans play out. Annie taken away for nRated. We know he's still got Lulu to play with. Both of these mid laners favor the assassin, so wouldn't be surprised to see Ari or further assassin bans. Let's run through this. LeBlanc taken away from ROCCAT towards Fox. Zed taken away from Nukeduck. That's 11 times banned in 14 games.
Really been the target ban against Nukeduck on his side. I'm a little bit surprised about Annie. I don't feel like that's nRated's best champion. It is definitely Lulu, and he often picks it over Annie as well, so I'm a little bit surprised about that one from ROCCAT's side. 2 jungle bans we obviously talk about here on 5.4, where Jarvan has received a few nerfs. It's about Nidalee and Rek'Sai, the 2 top-tier junglers in Europe. With them banned away, Lee Sin comes in suddenly for Jankos, feeling that's better than the now nerfed Jarvan.
Well, first pick for Jankos. He has played that 4 times in the past. Not the greatest of statistics, but he's going to be a comfort pick. It's going to go back to champion he's been playing many times.
We just said before how if ROCCAT wants to do standard lanes, they need a jungler who can really make plays in the laning phase or early on. Lee Sin can do it, especially now that Jarvan has lost the armor on his E, so his early clear is a bit weaker, he's a bit more squishy in the skirmish. That's where Lee Sin can now get the upper hand, and that really allows ROCCAT now, if they want to get standard lanes, to play really aggressive around these SK players who you know will always push and look to fight you.
Well, we'll see if ROCCAT can make use of that. Jankos, once known as the First Blood King, not necessarily been the same level of performance this year, with champions like Lissandra up and available for that top lane. Freddy's actually opted to go for the Gnar. Svenskeren locking in his Rengar, so there's a lot of ganking power, a lot of engage power as well from that Gnar, but taking their time, both of these teams.
Yeah, we have seen Sven go for Rengar whenever Nidalee and Rek'Sai were gone. So no real surprise from his side. Does of course mean he's going to be slightly weaker before level 6. Another opening for ROCCAT then to try and punish it. Do what Fnatic did, not the last time, but the first time SK and Fnatic faced each other, where we saw Rainova and Rek'Sai be really active between level 3 and 4, basically, where Sven normally likes to just sit back and farm and don't really want to assist any lanes that early.
Well, ROCCAT lock in their Corki and Maokai. Overpow going to the tree that gave him success yesterday. Gonna be a little scared for this Woolite Corki against a Gnar as the game progresses. Not the strongest of tank killers, but when Woolite's not been running these super late AD carries, ROCCAT have put a few wins on the board. So maybe that's the catalyst.
And the reason they take Corki here and also the Maokai is because ROCCAT is now looking to lane swap it. They know Forgiven is of course going to take Graves whenever it's open. So no surprise on that side, they expected it. Instead, you put Corki in a lane swap and you leave him on his own, and he gets a level advantage. And because he scales as an AD carry so well on levels, level 6, level 11, of course, with their rank 2 rockets, is huge for him. So by putting Corki in a side lane on his own in the swap, they will set themselves up for a very good mid game on their side of ROCCAT, which is something SK always liked to dominate. But that's through lane control and not like quick rotations around the map. No, it's take a tower at a time, then you go top lane, take another tower. So ROCCAT is really setting up for a potential swap. You definitely do not want to go into a Nami Graves lane. That's not going to work. So
interesting to see that if SK were looking or were expecting the lane swap as opposed to going for Lulu, which we have seen from nRated several times in the past. Going to go for the disengage from Nami.
Yeah, we haven't seen Nami in a while.
No, honestly. Definitely not.
With this support meta, support roaming meta, we've seen Nami's just too weak at roaming around. Her ganks are not very effective. She cannot invade the enemy jungle and deep wards. So it's a pick basically designed for nRated who likes to stay with Forgiven only.
Well, we do see Twisted Fate has been locked in for Nukeduck.
Okay.
Deficio, you highlighted how important the laning phase and how important getting an advantage early was going to be for ROCCAT against SK Gaming. And the very first Destiny from Nukeduck could make or break the game for a struggling ROCCAT team.
And this used to be one of the main picks for Nukeduck when he was in his prime, go all the way back to like Season 3 for Lemon Dogs. TF, it was basically a must ban against him, unless you could do like this Shen Kassadin combo that people discovered were pretty OP. But for him now, the reason we haven't seen TF as well in a long time is there's been all these champions who can just jump him so easy, like a Jarvan. I mean, what is TF's going to do? Yeah, he has a flash, but once that one is blown, you just jump him anyway with the Jarvan after and he's dead. So there's been so many ways of like getting onto that TF. Now with Rengar being the only champion who can really dive to him, and if you play wisely around pink wards, you will spot that Rengar coming in time and you can move around it, might even be able to lock him down with like the likes of the Maokai, kick from Lee Sin, and obviously the Lantern as well from the Thresh. So there are a lot of tools now for Nukeduck to stay alive in the fights, and instead impact the map in this early to mid game, where we know SK want to go for the towers. If they are pushing too far up, you TF ulti in behind them, that's a kill for you.
Well, pressure's going to be on ROCCAT. They have the ingredients to make aggressive plays, and we'll need to see whether they can do it. 2 weeks ago, they played against H2K, and it was ROCCAT's passiveness that cost them that particular game. They can't afford to play that slow. Let's touch on SK's team comp. It is something that's kind of got flavors of last year with that Nami support, Orianna middle. There's a lot of team fighting power for sure from that pick.
Yeah, very, very strong 5-on-5 team fight and some pick potential just because you run the likes of Rengar, Graves even as well as an AD carry here. But very team fight focused. And Orianna in the mid lane, while she won't have any problems laning against the Twisted Fate, she won't really be able to apply pressure to him either, which will allow for Nukeduck to push out the wave and then potentially go to one of the side lanes with his ulti. And that's really going to be the big deal. If this Twisted Fate can stop SK from fast pushing the side lanes, then that's the tactic for ROCCAT, to stop it and shut them down, and instead go to late game where we haven't seen too much from SK before. Well,
we'll see what ROCCAT can or cannot do. You guys jump on Twitter, vote for who you think will win. Hashtag ROC win or hashtag SK win. Just to remind all of our viewers, wrong yesterday. 5 for 5 in incorrect
Shame on
predictions.
You guys.
It was a day of upsets as far as fans were concerned. SK versus ROCCAT. We're loading onto the Rift. And for ROCCAT, a team that is 5-8 on the standings, the amount of breathing room a win over SK would buy them cannot be put into words. But it's up to them. Their team comp, while I think it will scale relatively well, I prefer SK as the game goes a little later. Especially the way SK plays. They seem to force their will on their opponents more frequently.
That's true. As long as the map is open for them to do it when they can split up, SK will take control. But the thing is, when you look at the two comps, especially late game, Maokai, I love Maokai into Graves, because Graves is such a short-range AD carry. You will always get in range with your W and lock him down. And he's not designed to kill a tank either. So suddenly Forgiven, later on in the game, it will be hard for him to have an impact in the team fights, and it's going to be more about this Orianna pick, who of course needs a lot of time to scale up. We've seen Froggen play it a few times, and it's always been the same. You don't do anything for the first 20-25 minutes. Once you have 2, maybe 3 items completed, then you start really dealing some damage. So that opens up for Nukeduck here to be so active on this Twisted Fate.
It's also a completely different style of champion to what we're used to seeing Fox on. He's played Kassadin, Zed, Ahri, Cassiopeia, LeBlanc. These are all champions that are, I would say, more aggressive than an Orianna. That Orianna tends to be a little more utility-focused, a little bit more reliant on your teammates and your positioning. So we'll see how Fox can handle himself on this different style. But a lot of love for Freddy in the top lane already.
Oh, see him on the ward. Vander, can they force a flash maybe?
I think they can. The Flay connects. Insta-flash. Well, eventual flash. Early advantage. That should give Freddy a little bit more difficulty in the laning phase.
Yeah, we mentioned how ROCCAT really wanted to lane swap with their combat. That's why they took the Corki and Maokai in the second rotation, knowing Graves was going to come from SK on their side. So they do get the swap with deep wards and, of course, the lane ward to see that Freddy's sitting. And I've said this before, and I'm a bit sorry for Freddy. I said it yesterday because I called him greedy for farm. And he told me that his mom texted him after the game and said, "Stop being greedy, Freddy." But I might have to say it again today, because he is a guy who doesn't care about dying in the laning phase if it means he gets like 2 or 3 waves of farm, and that's the way he likes to play. So he's always getting a CS advantage, but he might give up some gold for the other team. And let's see what he does today. This is a good start for ROCCAT. They got the freeze. They're keeping 2 guys in the lane as well to zone Freddy away, because you know he always want to go for this farm. And this is one of the first times we see teams really trying to deny him. Fnatic yesterday tower dove them early. Did work out, but he kind of returned to the lane after a massive fight. In this case, they're just freezing him off at the moment.
Well, Deficio, I hope you don't get Freddy in trouble with his mom for 2 days in a row. We'll see how he handles himself. 0 CS to his name yet. Vander doing a good job at keeping Freddy away, but nRated's come to back him up. Just like we saw yesterday, the top laners were in trouble. Let's touch on the fact that Forgiven, solo in the bottom lane, not against anybody for the time being. Jankos is in his jungle, buddy system with Overpow. They've been holding hands, clearing out the camps.
And it's very good nRated showed up in this top lane, because obviously there's nothing for him to do in the bottom lane. Forgiven is on his own, as you mentioned before. And it now allows Freddy to move in and get some farm, but he has no flash, remember, from before. And 4 guys from ROCCAT showing.
Oh, nRated flashes into the death sentence. I got a little more excited than I needed to, Deficio. No kill threat there, but good shot from Vander. He's on the board.
Concern for ROCCAT is you can't dive onto the two guys from SK when they're standing here. So they're doing the right call. Just send Overpow down to the bottom, and you know Forgiven is on his own, because you can see nRated in the top lane, and obviously the jungler is not going to sit there randomly when you're teleporting to the tower. So Overpow went top first, sacrificed some farm to set up a potential gank. As soon as that failed, he went straight down to the bottom lane. So he should be able to stay even in terms of XP. We'll just be slightly behind in farm because Forgiven is fairly strong on this Graves and can zone him a little bit.
Well, Woolite and Forgiven farming up well. Fox has already got himself an advantage in that middle lane. Nukeduck with those utility summoners. Down 15 CS at 5 minutes, before 5 minutes, which is quite a fair amount. You don't really want to get into auto-attack trades against an Orianna. That Orianna passive makes life very difficult, and you can see how defensive Nukeduck's playing.
It's always been the thing with Twisted Fate. He never really won any lane matchups. He was more just very good at farming and very safe, because you can farm with your Q, you can stay far back, and you could even rotate your pick and card. And then once you go in for the last hit, if he wants to trade with you, you just pick the stun card, stun him, and you walk away. So you can always play the lane really safe and just wait for your ulti, and then you make plays on the other lanes instead of your own. But obviously he shouldn't fall this far behind. There's been a bad trade from Nukeduck, or maybe missing some CS. We didn't get to see the mid lane because there was all the action on top.
Well, we'll keep an eye on how it plays out from here on out. See what Nukeduck can do to pull himself back into it. I think a lot of ROCCAT's early game will hinge on Nukeduck's ability to impact the lanes. One thing we didn't touch on is just how good a Twisted Fate could be against SK. Because if SK go back to a limited warding, heavily aggressive farm game, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Nukeduck to get behind members of SK. SK like to push the waves over and over.
It's probably the reason for the pick itself. First time we see, I've heard Nukeduck talk about Twisted Fate a lot, but he didn't want to pull it out because there were too many bad matchups for him in the like between the mid laner and jungler, because it was too easy with like double CC and lock him down. Rengar still needs double 6 before you can see any ganks on the Twisted Fate. But what SK Game has done here, early on they sent nRated top lane to secure some farm and levels on Freddy. Now that they feel he's strong enough on his own, he's gone back to the bottom lane so they can start pushing in. This is what SK always like to do.
Oh, Fox is Nukeduck, but there's support coming in. Here's Jankos and Sven. Ignite is burning away. One more auto attack. That might be first blood.
He got him.
Nukeduck is down. Fox and Sven set their sights on Jankos. Fox, with the aid of the jungler, not even needed. One-on-one's Nukeduck.
Yeah, and Nukeduck, he saved both his summoners here. Thought he was safe, or at least played it too aggressive, didn't flash away. This is perfect for SK Game. You get a kill on Orianna, first of all. Normally we just see a sit and farm, and you got this bot lane tower like you want to do because you now swapped nRated back down, and Forgiven has been so strong on his own. So this is a perfect start now for SK.
20 CS advantage and a kill to Fox. Did not expect that for that lane matchup. Orianna versus TF. Thought it was going to be a lot more of a farm fest. But Nukeduck just very concerned if you look at that player camp. Not the most comfortable. So 7 minutes on the clock. SK have already got a tower and a kill to their name. Nearly 2,000 gold lead before they've even breached the 10-minute mark. This is not what ROCCAT were hoping for. And it's going to be difficult to come back.
What SK is going to do now is going to go for the dragon, because you see the AD carry in the top lane. You know obviously he's not going to join, and you have a BF Sword Graves, so you're going to go straight and take the dragon now at this point, because you have all the pressure on the bottom lane. Once the dragon is dead, you're going to take your Graves and just swap into the top lane, because he's a lot stronger than the Corki at the moment. So if they lane one-on-one, Graves is going to win it and push in the lane over and over. And if nRated joins as well, suddenly you might be able to get pressure on that tower. So SK Gaming setting up for the dragon, so the last global objective is gone, and then they go back to pushing the lanes.
Well, yesterday, SK Gaming took an 8-minute dragon against Fnatic, which eventually snowballed them into the lead to take 5 dragons and a Baron by the 35-minute mark. 32-minute mark, rather. SK demolished Fnatic yesterday. They're starting off actually even better than they did yesterday, because they weren't punished for the lane swap. Yes, Freddy gave up a flash, but there was no dive, there was no kill. nRated responded to the pressure ROCCAT put down earlier than nRated did yesterday against Fnatic. So even from a game yesterday to today, SK are showing some, some learning, some growth.
They are, for sure. SK has really been adapting to kind of their own lane swap. And
their own weaknesses.
And didn't want to be too predictable in what they were doing, so they wanted to switch it up a little bit at least. And mix up especially how nRated were moving in this swap. But basically what's gone wrong for ROCCAT was early on they tried to deny farm for Freddy. That was fine. But as soon as they saw nRated up top lane, Overpow should have recalled instantly and just gone to the bottom lane. And then him and maybe Jankos could have joined there, stopped this push from Forgiven and push him back on his own and defend that tower. But let's see here, red buff, 4 guys from SK.
Oh, this is scary. ROCCAT
yeah, ROCCAT is only 2 here.
But you do see Overpass sitting with teleport, waiting in base. Waiting for the opportunity, but SK managed to secure the buff. No, whoa.
Yeah.
No one saw that. Misclick, misclick.
No one know the worst part?
Yeah.
He's just being a good teammate and he's writing down the timer for red buff. So he's just writing R and then the time. But he forgets to click enter. But let's see here. Dive on the top lane.
Well, let's take a look. Gold card is primed and Rated's the target. And he's popped before the auto attack can land. ROCCAT on the board of the first kill. It goes to Jankos. ROCCAT will commit to the tower and they will secure this one. So first use of Destiny, success. Yeah. However, no assist for Nukeduck.
I'm surprised though that Forgiven went back to the bottom lane after taking the dragon. Normally he would have gone straight to the top lane and then had this 2-on-2 lane where he was the Graves Nami into the Corki and Thresh, and then they wouldn't have been pushed all the way down here and had at least a stronger lane set up. Instead, SK, they kept Freddy up here. It was still 4 versus 2, so they would most likely died anyway, but there was a change. Now Forgiven is coming to that lane, so maybe he was just smart, saying, I'm waiting for this tier voltage to be gone, then I go top lane and I start pushing it in. That's probably not the case, but we can think.
Give the benefit of the doubt. It is God-given after all. Well, arguably, actually, you know what? Definitively the strongest AD carry in Europe.
the almighty.
Yeah, definitively. Consistently performing. We'll see SK securing their second tower of the game. So yes, they did give up a kill top, but they will respond. Oh, tower still lives. Somebody needs to give that a gentle love tap. There
Happy.
It is. It happens. I hate saying it's going to go down and then it doesn't go down.
Oh, Trevor.
I know.
So harsh.
It's true though.
Poor SK. Had it all under control.
They did. They did. Giving it a little bit of swag points. Walking in to tank one more shot. So 16k gold to 15k.
This has really gone all wrong for ROCCAT.
Tell me why.
Well, again, we've talked about it a few times how they didn't respond fast enough to go back to go down to the bottom lane with Overpow to have the one-on-one lane against Forgiven and potentially even send the likes of Jankos down or Vander if you want to leave your Corki on his own, because that's why you pick the Corki, so he gets that level advantage. Then you just put Vander and Overpow in the nbottom lane once you see nRated go top or once he leaves the top lane, and you stop that push from happening and you defend your tower. You basically extend the lane swap and you don't allow SK to do what they're doing now, where they get a fast bottom lane tower, then a dragon, then they swap top lane, because again, they play Graves. He's one of the best AD carries on just one BF sword. And you won't be able to duel him, and that's why he can keep pushing down all these lanes.
Oh, Jankos is desperately trying to get onto this bramble back, but SK Gaming not letting it go uncontested. Jankos didn't really have the support. He's decided not to run the risk. We did see nRated and Svenskeren hanging around. Deficio, while you're right, the team decision and the reaction from ROCCAT hasn't been great. I want to give some praise to Fox. Yesterday, he 1v1'd Febivin. Yes, it was a fairly favorable matchup with that LeBlanc into Ezreal. Today, he basically 1v1'd Nukeduck. ROCCAT still with the fan vote. It is close, though. 52% to 48%. And SK get, what was it, about 50% of that tower HP?
Yeah.
Forcing middle. So, just like dominoes. Bottom, top, middle. SK...
Always the same.
Traditional, heavy, aggressive laning.
Yeah, always pushing these lanes one by one. You kill them, and when you play Twisted Fate, if you start losing your auto turrets, the range where you can ulti suddenly becomes a lot smaller. Because if you're forced to sit back in your tier 2 towers, you won't be able to reach further than probably the river. And that means suddenly if someone is having a fight in, let's say, the top lane, it's going to be tough for you to get up there in time and join in, because you have a lot less room to work with. You basically get pushed into a corner when you play against SK and they get these outer turrets fast. And suddenly your minimap just shrinks. It becomes so much smaller and you have only 2 towers to wait for. You can maybe, if you're lucky, get 1 jungle camp, but you might not even be able to get it if SK is just keeping the pressure on you all the time. So you suddenly don't really have a lot of room to make plays on, where SK won't be able to react in time. Even against the Twisted Fate ulti, SK should be able to move from the likes of a mid lane to the top lane in time to turn it around.
Well, we'll find out if SK can make that work. Destiny is available for Nukeduck. Got himself a needlessly large rod, as well as the makings of that Morellonomicon, so he's going to have a lot more burst than the previous ultimate usage. But they need to find a lane, they need to find a target that they can jump onto. Freddy doesn't have a lot of MR, despite having 1,600 HP, and
but
look at the setup.
Praise to Freddy here. SK Gaming are playing around where Forgiven is on the map. He's now on the bottom side, which means all the wards gets invested on the bottom side, because that's where you're strongest. That's where you can make the plays. So Freddy, knowing that there's 0 wards on the top side of the map, and he hasn't seen anyone from ROCCAT in a while, does not decide to keep pushing out. Instead, he realizes there's a high chance of multiple guys being there to kill him, so he goes back to the crooks, he waits for the wave to come back to him, and he now stays alive. Yesterday against Fnatic, it was him who kept pushing up lanes and got killed by Reynolds a few times because he did it. Now, changing it up, Freddy is no longer greedy.
Well, not today.
Well, not today.
Not CS with his opponents. And we do see SK with all of that control in the bottom lane. And the early advantage, going to secure their second dragon before 14.5 minutes. Deficio, you touched on how SK play around Forgiven. They did the same thing yesterday as well. Once they got those towers, Forgiven was pushing down, and SK were investing their vision, was investing their resources. Hey, it works. When you got a guy.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the strategy.
Yeah, definitely works out in their favor.
It is the reason they're the #1 team in Europe at the moment after beating Fnatic yesterday. They do it so well, and it's tough for the other teams to respond, because if you're not strong enough to fight anyway, how are you going to stop this push, and how are you going to stop SK from getting down all these wards that they will place on whatever side Forgiven is at, and then suddenly he's safe. And now Freddy. Senpai came first.
Yeah, touch on some of the other items. Woolite's got that Trinity Force completed, Morella Nomicon, as well as Rod of Ages for Nukeduck and Overpow. Forgiven working towards.
That's how you farm,
edge.
by the way. You ulti the wave and then you buckshot, and that's it. Now you're done.
I wonder if that means we're not going to see anything happening for the next few minutes in SK's playbook.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Trev.
Don't know what gives it away, though.
No, I'm not sure.
Let's touch on the Sunfire Cape. We see Nas going different builds relatively often. No real AP threat in his lane, so no Hex Drinker today. But I know we have split feelings sometimes when it comes to Sunfire versus Randuin's.
So it very much depends on what you want to do. If you want to just sit in a lane and split push, Sunfire is fine because it gives you that extra wave clear or fast pushing ability. But if you want a team fight, then Randuin is in nearly every case going to be better for you. But in this situation, Freddy is looking to split push against this Maokai, who won't be able to do too much. Sven, on the other hand, he's not looking to split push, he's looking to kill someone in the bottom lane, and Jankos waiting as well.
Well, nobody's engaged yet, but I love the idea of a Rengar being sped up by a tidal wave and the potential of Orianna dissonance in there. There's a lot of enablers to get Svenskeren onto a target quickly, and I particularly like the synergy with that Nami. Get knocked up by the tower, get knocked up by the bubble. SK can, work together. They can really lock down somebody for an extended period of time.
This was a pretty good play by ROCCAT, though. They had Nukeduck, first of all, show himself, or will move out of the mid lane at first and down towards the bottom side of the map, so there was the risk of him ganking down to the bottom lane. And then they sent 3 guys down to push the towers, so there was a high chance of 4 members being there instantly. And SK knew, okay, we can't do anything, we can't fight, we need to just back away and let them take this tower, because we're not in a position to respond in a 4-on-4. Obviously, with the 2 teleports ready as well, it could have been a 5 versus 4. So they simply just made a play around the ulti from Nukeduck. He still has that mid lane tower being alive, so he can stay around the mid lane for himself. And that was just a good play to make it 2-on-2 in terms of towers, and very even in gold as well.
Well, Nukeduck does get his hands on that blue buff after SK tried to contest. I'm glad you actually say ROCCAT did well, because considering how the lane swap didn't work in their favor and just how much pressure Nukeduck was under, the team has evened out the goal difference. They've evened out the tower score. They do have a kill on their board, and SK is still unable to take that middle tower. Yes, they've not committed resources in a while, but a few minutes ago, SK did have 3 members trying to push the middle lane down. So all credit to ROCCAT for slowing this game down and clawing back the gold deficit they've given up.
It's been really good for Nukeduck that despite him dying, he could get that large rod on the first back, allowing him to basically instantly wave clear with his wildcards on the wave and just defend it on his own. Now, he will go down at some point. Once SK go for the real push, they will take that tower. But he still managed to hold off on it for quite a while. Hook just missing on Svenskeren. But now SK got the last tower, and yes, they're even, or somewhat even in gold, but still the 2 dragons to 0, that's going to be the big problem.
Well, Freddy is in Mega Gnar. It's about to time out. Here comes support. Mini Gnar gets booted backwards as he hops over the wall, flashes past the jungle. And we do see ROCCAT collapse. What will it cost them? Kill on the board for Woolite. Destiny comes out from Nukeduck. SK
behind as well.
Will be happy for the trade. There is Overpow plus Nukeduck coming in. Bubble doesn't connect. Tidal Wave goes out. Gold cards onto nRated. Here comes Woolite. That's a huge shockwave, but there's not a lot of damage to follow it up. ROCCAT with 2 quick kills, and they force SK away. It's a trade of 3 kills for 1 tower.
And ROCCAT now is going to push this mid lane with all 5 guys. That's going to be another tower. That was a nice play, honestly. Yes, they gave up that mid tower because they went 5 to get Overpower, or get Freddy down, but then they knew we have the ulti from Twisted Fate, we have the teleport, we can chase onto the remaining guys from SK, kill them, and also get a tower and trade it at least. So here, this is a setup all planned. I mean, you know at that time, if you go 5 to the top lane, the enemy team can push mid, but this is just such a nice setup. Nobody gets caught really by the tidal wave. Nukeduck dances around it. You blow up nRated first. Good shockwave, but just not enough damage here. You've already been caught out, and you're in a 4 vs 5.
And it was a defensive shockwave at the same time. Everybody in full retreat. To be fair, Woolite went from 100 to about 40% HP. Had a collateral, had additional damage come down, maybe got a kill. So ROCCAT, they do trade 1 tower for 1 after the fight. However, they lost an additional tower a few moments before. 20 minutes on the clock. ROCCAT looking not too shabby. Especially now that Nukeduck's got himself an hourglass. So those sort of, dare I say it, Messiah plays are a possibility where you can just Destiny in and hourglass out.
SK has already gone down to this dragon though. 3rd one for them if they manage to pick it up. This is a game where they have improved. They are investing more into pink wards and setting up for objectives beforehand. And if you come and face check, well, tough luck for you. You will get caught out by the likes of a Rengar. But for Svenskeren to get the right engage against a Twisted Fate and potential pink wards, that's going to be tough. And instead, we can't see ROCCAT just start.
Well, let's see what Nukeduck can do. Gold card catches Freddy's. Should go Mega Gnar shortly. Will it be enough? Dragon number 3 secured for SK. What is Freddy doing? He's tanking up 4. But again, it's the sacrificial Brit to secure a global objective. SK, can they defend their inner turrets?
What ROCCAT keeps doing is trading kills for objectives here now. Have to be careful. Svenskeren is going in.
Oh, there's the kitty pounce. We just get Overpow melted. We do see the kickback as Svenskeren is knocked over the wall, but ROCCAT are split. They've lost 2 since taking Freddy down. Forgiven's getting run down from Woolite, and Forgiven still survives. Woolite's got no more mana. Forgiven so close to going down, but they defend the tower. They get themselves 2 kills, and I can't get over how quickly Overpow went down.
And also they got that dragon now. 3 for 0 in terms of dragons. He's gonna have the 5th one very soon in this game. And SK Gaming, despite giving up a few kills here and there, have kept the goal lead. They've played their style, got these outer turrets down. Defending first, and ROCCAT is tanking the tower, and you just see the ball delivery system. Svenskeren in, Overpow gets pulled back, he gets blown up. He's not tanking, he only has like a Rod of Ages at this point. And Jankos tries to make the play, goes down as well. So 2 quick kills now for SK. Defend the tower, as you mentioned, and more importantly, got that dragon, which just gains more and more value simply by getting closer to number 5.
Now, once you get that aspect of the dragon, SK already had strong team fights. You get that 12% AD and AP, additional move speed, etc. It's just going to allow them to run circles around ROCCAT. I love the engage. It's actually something that we saw once Rengar was sort of released, the invisible cat shockwave, lion shockwave, whatever you want to call Rengar. Worked out well.
So not falling for this one.
ROCCAT with the risky Baron. Forgiven's nowhere to be seen. He's in the bottom lane, Deficio, but ROCCAT, how long will they stick on this objective?
I think they can stop it with 4. I mean, you're standing in the Baron pit against a shockwave. Death Cap is completed on the Orianna already, and we're gonna see a fight.
Well, let's see what happens. Freddy's been caught in shockwave. Down, Nukeduck gets nuked. In the background, Freddy's dropped before he can go Mega Gnar. Overpow's looking for some targets, but he's been left alone. Big crit comes down from Woolite, but nobody else continues the fight. It's 2 members of ROCCAT down as SK look to chase ROCCAT away. SK were able to fend it off, but the fight's not over. nRated, what can you do? Tidal Wave is available as he gets hit. We do see the attack dissonance dropping Vander. Attack comes out. Collateral damage ruins Woolite's day. And SK Gaming trade 1 for 4. Forgiven's not done. Gets an auto attack out, and all of a sudden SK have got priority on Baron.
This is such a fit Orianna already with that death cap coming in at like 21 minutes for him. You completely avoided that somewhat weak early to mid game. Orianna stage, you've gone to late game already with the early kill. see what ROCCAT can do. Nukeduck is here and Jankos has Smite ready. You want to try and steal it? He should be allowed to.
Freddy's trying to zone him away. 2000 HP on Baron. Sonic Wave comes in. Baron gets secured by Twisted Fate. Actually, that's a lie. It's Svenskeren that's killed. Forgiven. Grabs Baron. Nukeduck's going to be held up for a second or two longer, but it's not going to be enough. SK, more kills and Baron, despite a valiant attempt by Jankos and Nukeduck.
So what ROCCAT tried to do is a thing we have seen teams do against SK beforehand, where they don't like think about warding the Baron, and you can like sneak a 21, 22 minutes one. That's why they started, but this time Freddy was in the lane with his ward here, so he placed it down and he spotted, okay, they're doing the Baron. And then with 4 guys nearby, especially the Orianna, is going to be huge if you are caught in that shockwave near the Baron itself. Nukeduck is, sadly for him, going to be the target, and he just gets popped instantly. There's so much damage here, and SK, of course, can keep fighting. Not enough damage left from the side of ROCCAT. Baron dealt a lot to them. They're going to end up dying for it. I kind of like the try, because SK in the past has shown that they sometimes forget to ward the Baron. But as soon as they saw the ward being popped down by Freddy, they should have backed away from ROCCAT's side. Yeah,
I really agree with you, Deficio. For ROCCAT, they have a team composition that actually needs to make plays, and we touched on how we felt ROCCAT needed to play more aggressively than they have in the past. Maybe not the strongest of decisions, that Baron, but they did at least try to make it work, and unfortunately were punished. So ROCCAT now once again defending, playing from behind. It's a massive lead that they've got to climb through this time. 5,000 gold. And 3 members of SK with that Baron buff. SK, let's see if they can take more of those inner turrets.
Well, more dragons should be the main objective here for SK. Especially because once the next one is picked up, you got even the more damage to minions and monsters, which means the next Baron coming is going to go down even faster for the likes of SK. And they shouldn't give up the lead they have now. It's been fairly close. ROCCAT has made some good moves to really keep it even in gold. But then we saw this Baron. I just don't know why they didn't disengage from it. Once they saw the ward, they knew they were spotted. Yes, Forgiven was in the bottom lane. But still 4 guys this early is going to stop you.
Well, we'd have to listen into mic check and find out what the team's communication was like. 40 seconds before the next dragon spawns. Making use of that Baron buff, you can see SK getting some deep vision in ROCCAT's jungle. Making sure they are well informed for the next dragon attempt, and also sieging up that inner turret. There's a little bit of tankiness in Overpow, finding out that Frozen Heart completed, but ROCCAT need to really burst someone down quickly or get caught out in a 5v5.
Yeah, and it's fine that Overpow has a lot of armor. He's going in and can they get it?
Well, Fox is caught out. Fox has flayed back. That's a fairly easy kill for ROCCAT. What more can they take? Destiny channeled. Gate followed. Nice double bubble from nRated. Throws ROCCAT up. That means trouble as nRated goes down as well. That's a double kill for Nukeduck. They turn to Svenskeren, but he shouldn't be able to get away. I lied as he flashes over the wall after leaping onto a Krug. ROCCAT get 3 quick kills. Potential on Dragon, but somebody needs to deal with Freddy.
They got it. Nukeduck can defend. Just go to this Dragon. Don't allow SK to pick it up. They shouldn't be able to. Perfect play by ROCCAT here. You engage onto the fed target. You shut him down instantly. Obviously no outlast yet on this Orianna, so you get that 1 kill. And because SK were playing around towers instead of just securing this 4th Dragon, saying, okay, we're just going to wait for it to spawn, then we pick it up, then we look to go further on the map, then ROCCAT gets everything. That was jackpot for them.
Yeah, it really was. All of that CC chained onto Fox. ROCCAT very, very clearly focusing down the main threat in that particular engagement.
They're going to need Flash again, though, on Overpow before they can do it, because otherwise he will never be able to just walk in range. There's no Righteous Glory, there's no Talisman to speed him up. Unless maybe he can go for Home Guards and then try and teleport behind. I would really love to see that when you're playing Twisted Fate. You get Home Guard on your top laner, so you have 2 guys who can engage very, very easily onto the enemy team if SK tries to do what they did before. Because remember, SK has a fairly low range composition when it comes to sieging on a tower, so they will always be caught very close to ROCCAT's turrets and then be in a bad spot for a potential fight to start if we see like a teleport coming in or if we see the Twisted Fate ult.
So interesting, Deficio. You know, after the Baron is secured, I felt SK might want to siege. You kind of highlighted their focus was going to be Dragon, and it was sieging that cost SK. They grouped in a lane, and it was the engage from behind with Nukeduck that allowed ROCCAT to clean up the fight. And if you go a few minutes earlier in the jungle, it was Overpow teleporting behind SK that allowed ROCCAT to win another fight. So for ROCCAT, It is a flanking maneuver. It is a, you know, multi-directional threat that they need to look to do, and we'll see whether or not they can find more opportunities, or if SK is going to be wiser. I mean, SK's still got a 4K gold lead, so
yeah, they're still
in
ahead.
charge.
They got a 3 dragons, but the flanking here is another reason why Nami, as a support, has kind of fallen out of favor, because there's so many options now with these like teleport home guards, or junglers like Rengar maybe who can sneak in from the side and then jump you, where Nami's ulti is fairly hard to place properly to stop and engage. If we have the team engaging from 2 sides, Nami can only disengage on one of the sides. He has to pick, okay, do I want to try and shut down maybe the Twisted Fate coming in here with his ulti, or do I want to go for this Maokai who's teleporting from the other side, because again, her tidal wave, it doesn't cover like a monsoon all the way around you. So it's tough for her to find the right angle to disengage for her team. And that's really something ROCCAT can use to get onto the Orianna, get to the Graves in this backline here and just blow them up. Hourglass is completed now though, so it will be a bit tougher this time around.
We'll see whether or not Fox can find those targets. Shockwaves, maybe even more impactful than Twisted Fate's Destinies in team fights. Because we've seen what a 3000 elo Shockwave looks like, and we've seen what a 30 elo Shockwave looks like. And it really can be such a game breaker for your whole team fight. And look at the rest of the damage from SK. Yes, there is AoE from Graves. It's mostly single target. Anyways, we'll get to that in a moment or two. Baron spawning in 30 seconds. SK had set up some vision in the pit. ROCCAT doing the best they can to clear it out. No upgraded trinkets with the exception of Vander on ROCCAT's side, but on SK, Freddy has got himself that greater stealth totem.
Again, he learned last week that
it works out.
It's pretty gold efficient. So go for it. Overpow should do the same on his side. Then you run double sidestone, 3 sweepers, and you have so many wards at your disposal basically to, whenever you want to contest any kind of objective, you can completely ward up around it. Like SK can set up now. They're starting it. The wards have shown this Baron is being started. Twisted Fate coming in as well, and teleport. We're going to get a fight.
Well, let's see whether ROCCAT can make it work. Destiny's revealing. Svenskeren is spotted. They've turned their attention to Gnar. Freddy's caught out. Death sentence lands. Jankos forces Sven away, and they're going to focus Freddy down before he can go Mega Gnar. Numbers advantage for ROCCAT, but they expended a lot. The Shockwave whiffs!
30
it doesn't
elo.
hit anybody! That's a 30 elo Shockwave for sure! Svenskeren and the rest of SK trying to get away. The Flay doesn't connect. This is turning into a comedy of errors as not a lot of abilities are catching, but ROCCAT have found the second kill. They're continuing to chase. Bubble throws up Woolite and Overpow. Nukeduck throws up the wild cards, and that makes nRated go wild. Flash forward, the Tempest, the Cripple, the wild cards, another kill. Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike, and Jankos secures kill number 4. ROCCAT have clawed back the 6,000 gold deficit and are looking at Baron.
And that was such a smart decision by ROCCAT. They were looking once the teleport came in and Nukeduck could pop his ult. They were saying, like, where are we going to go? Oh, there's a Gnar right now who's not even close to getting Mega Gnar. We can engage on him. He's fairly squishy at this point before he gets it. I know he's full tank, but we can take him down beforehand. They kill him. Sadly, though, Forgiven is not going to let you just take a Baron for free. He will get an inhibitor for it.
Overpow's going to look from that's not your gate, Forgiven, but you can dash through it if you like. Flashes over the wall. Overpow's chasing. There's a lot of armor and hit points.
Ranged.
Destiny's quickly becoming available for Nukeduck, but I think the movement speed of Forgiven and the support of Svenskeren will allow him to get out. Let's see if Nukeduck wants to go. Destiny thrown out. They're going for this one, Deficio. Gold card connects. Wild cards do not. Overpow jumps onto Sven. There's a teleport from Freddy. Over-aggressive play from ROCCAT. Will it work? The death sentence hits. Vander's held Svenskeren in place, and Overpow is tanking up SK Gaming. Sven's managed to flash away from the backline as Overpow gets cold. The flash, the Overpow does get killed. Woolite gets killed. There's too much happening to Deficio, and Svenskeren, he's stealthed up.
Showing himself. There we go.
He will get caught out. It's not done yet. Wow, SK are now chasing ROCCAT. They're in trouble. They've got no inhibitor. There's minions in them pushing down towards the base. Fox forced to hourglass out. How far can SK go? They don't have Forgiven with them. Freddy's going to carry on the chase. I look forward to hearing how you break this one down, Deficio. But Freddy's going to carry on. Let's see. Boomerang slows Jankos out, but he's going to ward hop over to the red buff. Mega Gnar throws the boulder. Jankos, Sonic Wave.
Just take the dragon, Freddy.
Are we going to crunch over? Freddy's just going to throw the rock, and SK grab dragon number 4. So, I got confused and tongue-tied. do explain exactly what transpired in the last 2 minutes.
Well,
My good man.
Once we get the replay at least. One thing I did notice was Woolite, he's a man who likes to jump in for the kills. As the AD carry, ended up killing himself. And once we get the replay, we can see if that was the main reason ROCCAT lost the fight. They went very aggressive first. Teleport came in from SK as well. A lot of chasing back and forth here. And now, 4th Dragon. So, ulti coming in here. So Nukeduck, he chooses Forgiven, missed the first wildcard, and now they can't really get onto Forgiven after from Overpow, so he chooses Svenskeren. This is fine for now for ROCCAT. As long as they kite back, focus Svenskeren here. Just kill him. You don't have to dive deep, because right now, Overpow is zoning 3 guys on his own. Forgiven is only hitting the tank. Just kill Svenskeren here, and then you can start backing away or looking at what's the next target. Once Overpow dies, though, Woolite thinks that he wins the fight by killing Forgiven. That's not how it works. You still have to deal with this Orianna, and now your AD carry is gone for no reason. If you just focus on the Rengar itself, back the way you would have been 5 versus 4, and would have been a very different fight for ROCCAT. Instead, SK Gaming, especially with an extremely fed mid laner, can play the fight.
Yeah, props to nRated landing bubble after bubble as they chase through to punish ROCCAT.
Forgiven was out of mana as well. He wouldn't have been able to chase anything. He would have been forced to basically say, okay, unless you guys are standing right in front of me so I can auto-attack you, that's the only way for me to deal damage. And yet Woolite decides it's better for him to trade one-on-one between him and Forgiven. Definitely disagree on that one.
Well, I think you have to ask questions of Woolite's positioning. We've definitely been saying it over the last few weeks. He got the kill.
Decision-making in this case.
He got his man.
He did. This one was more decision-making. Okay. Saying, okay, I'm going to jump in. 1 versus 4. I don't care. I'm going to kill this guy.
Worth.
Maybe he just want to ruin his KDA. I don't know.
Worth. 3-2-3. Woolite 5-2-9. We're at 35 minutes on the clock. The gold that SK had earned themselves has been once again melted away. ROCCAT are even. They're 3 towers to 5. The only scary thing is the next dragon is dragon number 5 for SK Gaming. And truthfully, SK have had much better control of the pit.
Around the dragon for sure, yeah. But the thing for ROCCAT is, we have seen it a few times already this game. When they're the ones deciding the fight, I mean, that's always the problem about a Rengar. Rengar is great when it comes to creating picks and like setting up kills for your team, but he's horrible if you engage onto Rengar. He doesn't add anything. Or then maybe he can try and jump from the bush and lock down an AD carry, but it's super hard for him to do, and he's still, despite building tanky, a fairly easy target for a late game AD carry to kill. So, what ROCCAT can do is if they're the ones starting it through teleports and the Twisted Fate ulti, they can easily choose the targets. Let's say, oh, is there a mini Gnar who's not even close to Mega Gnar? That could be our target if Freddy's split up from the team. Or can we get onto the back line and then also eliminate what Svenskeren can do on Rengar by simply starting the fight yourself? So ROCCAT definitely has the tools to keep winning.
Yeah, it's something, you know, we haven't really touched on too extensively. It's just how Nukeduck's ultimate destiny will reveal Svenskeren when he goes for the hunt. You know, he's going to reveal Stealth Champion. So yesterday, we saw SK play around pink wards to effectively counter over Reignover's Rengar. Today, ROCCAT have the tools to counter Svenskeren, but it's been more ROCCAT's aggressive plays to claw back what SK has done. And SK, I think they've lost their momentum. With the exception of Control of Dragon, SK are not necessarily as in control as they were during the laning phase, during the first 10-15 minutes.
Well, we normally don't see SK go to late game. It's all about winning in mid game for them through lane pushes and not straight up team fights. But we'll have to in this game, and we mentioned how Twisted Fate ulti can spot the Rengar. The counter, it's called Banshee's Veil. It's now been picked up by Svenskeren. It will basically block the ulti from Twisted Fate so you don't get vision on Rengar himself. Then pop the Banshees. So that is going to be the answer for Svenskeren if he's the guy looking to start the fight. But he can still get collapsed on fairly easily. You just jump down as a TF, and if you do have to time your wildcard first, pops the Banshee, then you throw your stun after.
Well, look at that gold graph. SK managing to climb themselves in the lead ever so slightly, and then lose it, and then ever so slightly lose it. As it stands, there's only an 800 difference. So ROCCAT, this is ROCCAT from the beginning of the split, where they would dig deep, where they would drag games out. And interestingly, if ROCCAT managed to secure 22 kills, it'll actually be the most kills they've secured in a single game for the entire year.
Says a lot about the ROCCAT playstyle we've seen this year. And I mean, it's no secret for the ROCCAT players either when you talk to them and like their opinions of what's been going on. They're not happy. They expected a lot more when this team was created, and when Overpow moved to the top lane, they thought it was going to be a great move. He could be good in terms of team teleports, and of course his shot calling or added shot calling to the team. And then you put in there's basically the rookie of the split in Woolite, an AD carry with good mechanics, who looked fairly solid on the Copenhagen Wolves, and then Nukeduck, this guy who was fantastic when he played for Limlox back in Season 3. So on paper it looked good, but it's simply not been working for them. There's been too many problems in terms of honestly shot calling and players underperforming.
Yeah,
from the mid laner to the AD carry to the top laner, it doesn't matter. They have been underperforming overall if you look at the entire split.
And you look at a team like SK, the odd games where Forgiven doesn't necessarily deliver, Fox has picked up the slack. Svenskeren has picked up the slack. You know, SK is a contrast where when a team does have some struggles, somebody else will carry it. Unfortunately for ROCCAT, they haven't found that synergy, but this might be the week. Remember, ROCCAT sitting out of a playoff spot. They're 5-8 in this game, and they're playing against the league leaders, SK. Overpow gets caught out, but the Lantern does save him. Collateral damage was thrown out from Forgiven, so cooldown used. ROCCAT now need to decide, do they want to engage? Dragon is up. This is for aspect of the Dragon. Destiny has been channeled from Nukeduck. He's trying to get in on the side lane, but he's a little split up. Where can Overpow join the party? The ward comes out. Dragon secured. That's gone to Svenskeren. SK Gaming have got the aspect. Overpow once again in the thick of things. Jankos pulling a few members. It's only the tree that's caught by the shockwave, and ROCCAT are in full retreat. They do not want this engage. Death Sentence catches Freddy, but that's not the one you're looking for. Woolite and Nukeduck in full retreat, but it's not going to be enough. Wildcards rings across. SK's health bars, 2 members of ROCCAT are down. And honestly, fairly anticlimactic fight with SK getting 2 kills. The 5th Dragon, the most likely the Baron.
It almost felt like ROCCAT was surprised Dragon was spawning because they didn't move for it before and didn't try and fight over the walls being placed. So SK Gaming was standing there as 5, took down the Dragon before the fight even broke out. And that was, again, simply SK being faster than ROCCAT, and then when you see the Twisted Fate, not getting a proper ulti for Nukeduck's side, so he doesn't get to the back line. We saw the Overpow teleport as well, he didn't get to the back line either with that. So because it almost felt like you were surprised Dragon were coming up, you couldn't set up proper control around it and get the right engage, and that just put you in a terrible teamfight situation where you had to now hit on a Mega Gnar, and of course the Rengar, who when they get to be the front line, can't do enough to protect Orianna and Graves.
I want to call back to what you mentioned with the previous Dragons SK had secured. They were always going to take down minions and monsters faster. They have shown very clearly their objective was focused around the Dragon. Now let's see what can happen. Here comes Nukeduck. They caught Fox and nRated out of position. nRated does manage to get the bubble, but Freddy is a massive Gnar. He jumped into the fight. Fox is the first one down. Woolite trying to lifesteal off the minions. Nukeduck forced away. Tidal Wave, we'll see if that can connect. Vander's been dropped by Forgiven in the mid lane. Let's see exactly how that transpired, but the bubble works. nRated manages to finish Nukeduck. Overpow gets shut down. 3 members of ROCCAT down. SK in a 4-on-2. They're looking to close the game out. Baron empowered minions, Aspect empowered champions. They're on the Nexus turrets, and this is for game.
I really like this support 1-on-1 from nRated here against Nukeduck. And wow, another one for Forgiven.
Another kill on the board. 6, 2, and 5. Forgiven sold his boots. He picked up the Zephyr as his final item. Going to use all that attack speed to melt the Nexus turrets. SK Gaming, 11-3. Take down ROCCAT. Retain control of the European LCS.
I think that was a harder game for SK than they would have expected beforehand. They had a great start. The lane swap went in their favor. They got these early towers down. And ROCCAT still managed to find ways of getting back in the game. They always try to keep it even in gold. We had some fairly good team fights here. But the Dragons, the first one picked up at 7 minutes. SK is the team in Europe who gets the fastest first Dragon. This game, or in this game
even
was the same.
faster today,
yeah,
this
even
week.
faster than their normal average. And that was really the key for them. Always just wait for these Dragons to spawn, play around them, and then the last one. Still surprised that ROCCAT were not in a better position to fight for it.
Yeah, I think if you look at all the teams in Europe, SK have got the strongest Dragon decision making.
Them and H2K. When it comes to playing around Dragons.
In the last few weeks, I'd agree with H2K, but you know, over the entire split,
right?
SK play very safely. When Dragons aren't available, they win through other means. But this is the third third game that I can think of where SK have actually gone for the 5 Dragon to use it to allow them to take down the Nexus. And I think ROCCAT this week have performed better than they have every other match leading up to Week 7.
I agree. It's looking better for ROCCAT compared to what we've seen in the past, but a game like this now for them, you were about to take out SK Gaming, and the reason that was going to be so important is because you're fighting against Elements, Unicorns of Love, and the likes of Giants, fighting for that last playoff spot, because Copenhagen Wolves now are a few wins ahead of you, and obviously Gambit is above the Copenhagen Wolves, and so on. So it's between like 3 or 4 teams, and ROCCAT is one of them, of avoiding relegation, number 9 and number 8, and of course getting into playoffs as the last spot there, number 6 in the standings. Being so close now to beating SK Gaming, a game where you normally would look at the schedule and say, okay, this is not the one where we are going to get closer to playoffs. No, we just ignore that one and look instead at the games against Elements and maybe Giants and whatever. These are the ones we need to win. You were so close.
Yeah.
Really, really annoying feeling now for ROCCAT.
It must be heartbreaking. If you look at the standings, ROCCAT were 5-8 coming into this game. They're now 5-9. Giants have 9 losses. MYM have 10 losses. If MYM or Giants pull off some upset wins, they could get ahead of ROCCAT. ROCCAT are by no means safe. And remember, 7th position on the standings gets you a spot in the summer split. 8th and 9th is promotion tournaments. So for a team that at week 1, we heard the players saying, look, we're expecting to be top 2, top 3. Very harsh realities. Very harsh realities. But we are being a bit overly negative. I think ROCCAT, they put up a great fight. They had a team comp that was not reliant on getting to the late game. They made decisions. The Baron call, you could argue, was bad, but they made the call. Even just last week against H2K, they weren't making calls. So it's good to see growth. It's good to see development. However, it has come very late. There's not a lot of room left.
No, and that's the problem, really. Yes, you can get better and better, but unless you suddenly get to a point where you win every single game, it might be too late for you. And that's another thing as a player, because you're always looking at the standings. You're always looking at what's our next goal here. When you suddenly realize you have so few games left and you then lose like this, now against SK, where you were fairly close, that's really where you start losing, belief and trust in yourself and, can we make playoffs at all? But for ROCCAT's side, they have to look at this week and say, we were playing better.
Yeah.
We kept it even in terms of gold for such a long time. Use that next week when we're not playing SK Gaming, and we will pick up more wins.
Well, next week, SK Gaming will be playing at the IEM World Championships.
2 weeks.
They're looking in good form. At the moment, we'll need to see if SK can do Europe proud. But to break down that match, let's hand it over to Shox.